Previously on Bollocks.
We're going to go to topodds.com, guys. Top Odds Compare on Twitter, at Top Odds Compare. They're the guys that back this program. They're the guys that tell us where to put our money. If I'm a mouse there. If you go to www.topodds.com. Brandon.
Hello.
Good morning, Brandon. It's Neal Collins. It's been a very difficult 2 hours of bollocks. The first hour. Nobody wants to talk about Bafana. We've lost Brandon. The phones aren't working. But if you go to topodds.com, it's a very interesting site, guys. If you go down the left-hand menu on www.topodds.com, you'll find all the different sports that you can bet on. Obviously, we've now lost interest in the cricket, having narrowly avoided holding on for a draw yesterday. But if you come to soccer, I think that we'll be more than ready to talk about the weekend's action in Britain and in South Africa. Brandon, are you available now?
Hello.
Brandon?
Brendan, can you hear us?
Hello.
Brandon?
Brendan, can you hear us?
Yes,
Oh,
I
cool,
can hear you now, Comfort.
Okay, Brandon, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now, Neil.
Okay, it's no good talking to Comfort. He says we needed to be walloped last night. And he's getting loads of people agree with him on Twitter. I can't believe it. I don't think we need to be battered like 5-0 last night. No record score lines, but there we are. Did you watch it at all, Brandon?
Oh, I did. I actually backed Brazil to win half-time, full-time.
Yeah.
They were 8-10. I thought it was a bit of value, and yeah, we were... But, I mean, what did the country expect? Really, I mean, what did they expect? I mean, I had my father-in-law telling me, they're lucky it wasn't 6-0. And, at the end of the day, you sit and watch a game, and you can't be proud of a team that doesn't have a chance going into the match. And I don't know if you can blame Gordon. I just don't think that the players that you have are good enough. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are saying that this morning, and very, very sobering. I guess we need to move on and look ahead rather than backwards when we're talking about betting. We're looking at West Brom Man United. Would that be where you'd start?
Oh, geez, I don't know if I'd ever start with Man United.
No, exactly. I mean, it's been a hard year for Man United, as hard as it has been for Bafana. Moyes out, Gordon out. Where do we go with this?
It was going to be difficult. At the end of the day, Manchester United are in limbo. We know that. The problem is, can they get out of it? Can they finish fourth? I don't think they can. I think they've blown their Champions League chances. And I think it's very difficult now to try and follow a side and put money on them every single week and expect to get a good result. I mean, Robin van Persie came out last week, saying that players are running into his spaces and, he can't play like he wants to play. So I can only draw an inference from that is that David Moyes doesn't know what he's doing tactically, and the players don't know where they're supposed to be. And that's a serious problem. So they should beat West Brom, let's put it that way. I'm just having a problem with my connection at the moment. I can't seem to pull up the odds. I don't know if you guys are connected on that end.
Yes.
Can you just give us the betting there? Sorry, Neil.
Yes, I can. I know I've gone off it now. Hold on, here it is. Here's bing. Manchester United 15-20, 8-10, 15-20 with Ellen Bookmaker, 8-10 with World Sports Betting. The draw 53-20, Ellen Bookmaker 27-10 World Sports Betting, and West Brom 37-10 or 38-10 with those two. That's the one that I've got up here at the moment. Again, yeah, I'm having a slight connection problem, but mate,
it's 7.5 to 10 is always value for Manchester United. World Sports Betting have 8-10. They have the better price in this market, and the old Manchester United should win. I know that Pepe Mel's having problems at West Brom. I don't think he's had a win yet since he's been there. And that just might be a little bit of a problem for them. Maybe Manchester United might be a good thing this weekend.
Well, it's about time they were, isn't it? Mate, with the internationals last night, it's been quite an interesting week, hasn't it? I think Fellaini scored for Belgium last night in a 2-2 draw with Ivory Coast. So we need to look at the fact that perhaps Man United can get players back refreshed from the international break, although they no longer field a team full of internationals that start for their countries like they used to. Again, I'm having a bit of a connection problem getting hold of the weekend's fixtures. And
I don't know why.
where would you like to take us? I mean, do you want to take us to some Super Rugby?
Oh, we can definitely talk about Super Rugby.
Yeah.
We always talk about Super Rugby.
Didn't we say last week that the Bulls would lose to the Lions?
We did. It was a very interesting week last week. I liked the Lions on the spread. The plus 5.5 against the Bulls, and the Bulls were just too good for them. But I do think that the Bulls this weekend might get a little bit of a lesson. They're playing the Blues, coached by John Kerwin and Graham Henry, who sits there. That's the All Black coach. And I just think it was such a bad game between the two sides. I think the Bulls won that game because the conditions didn't suit the Lions. The Lions are a running rugby side, and the rain just didn't stop. And the Bulls were able to batter them out of the game and kick their penalties. And if it's wet this weekend, which it might be, that might work in the Bulls' favour. But I think that the Blues they're a good side. The New Zealand sides know how to move the ball in the wet, and I think the Bulls could get a bit of a hiding. As I say, I can't open the fixture in front of me at the moment. I'm not sure why. I don't know if you guys can.
No, I can't. I can't get in. So I'm kind of going around it and going to BBC at the moment. I've got odds on Arsenal Everton popping up in front of me now. Arsenal Everton, Sheffield United, Charlton. The four big FA Cup games are up in front of me now.
It's an interesting weekend for football. I mean, FA Cup and Premier League on the same weekend. I don't know when they've last done that. I don't recall having the two fixtures on the same weekend.
Well, it's in South Africa that they never seem to do that. They seem to reserve weekends for the Nedbank and the Telkom. But if you knocked out the FA Cup early, which Man United definitely were, then they will allow you to catch up on games on the same weekend as an FA Cup. But this weekend, the FA Cup, Arsenal, Everton, Sheffield United, Charlton, Hull, Sunderland, Man City, Wigan. It's not very glamorous. Man City, Wigan, I suppose. Wigan, the holders against Man City, the title contenders would be the real glamour tie of the round.
Well, you have to have a look at the Arsenal-Everton game. I don't know how easy this is going to be for Arsenal. You look at the two teams. Everton, what can they win this season? Probably only an FA Cup. And Arsenal, they're probably out of the Champions League, but they still have that tie to think of. And then they're in the title race. So, what sort of side does Wenger put out on Saturday against Everton? I'm not too sure, and Everton might just be a sneaker there.
Yeah. Mate, you're saying that Everton are going to beat Arsenal?
Well, it's very possible. Unless you sit down and say as an Arsenal fan that the only thing Arsenal could win this season is the FA Cup.
It is, yeah.
He's got to start his strongest 11, which he might do, but, geez, I don't know, it's very interesting. For me, that's one of the games of the weekend.
So you're saying back against Arsenal?
Yeah, maybe the draw, maybe Everton. I don't know if they still do replays in this round, do they?
Yes, they do. They're going to replace for this round and then penalties for the second game. So,
I don't know. Arsenal should win it. I mean, you always want to back Arsenal, especially against a side like Everton at the moment who are concentrating on making Europe next season. But I just think that, Everton, they're a slippery side to deal with, and might be a banana skin for Arsenal.
Don't talk about banana skins in Arsenal. I know. I mean, there's been a couple, haven't they? Stoke last week was a banana skin for Arsenal. Mate, what about Man City, Wigan? Wigan, the holders, relegated last season, lost Roberto Martinez. Man City kind of come off the peak they were on. But it's got to be Man City, hasn't it?
Yeah, there's no question there. I think Wigan, under Martinez, I think they would rather have, not won the FA Cup and stayed in the Premier League. They didn't do that. They went down, and I don't think there'll be a factor in that game. Man City will win it, and they'll win it comfortably. If you want to have a look at the PSL, we got to look at the PSL this weekend. And I know I predicted Sundowns to go and beat Wits, and I apologise for that. I was wrong. I don't know what happened in that game. You kind of liked Wits, so
I do.
A 3-1 victory to the Clever Boys, and I think they deserve that. I don't know if you watched the game.
Yes, and obviously Wits made some very astute signings, Gavin Hunt being the major one, I guess, and Joffe and Bidvest are spending a lot of money on their football team at the moment. They've got some very high salaries. I found out a couple of salaries recently. They're actually, some of the Wits players are on better money than anyone else in the country at the moment. And what interests me is, you've got Kaiser Chiefs riding high, but with the Champions League to worry them, and Intumile Nkune now injured for a month. Orlando Pirates, all those games in hand, they're gradually catching up, but not. And they're in transition between Tinkler and VV, trying to get his work permit. And then you got Sundowns losing their last 2 games, one of them to Wits, and I can see Wits, and I said this at the start of the season, being the surprise package.
Oh, no, most definitely. I don't know if they can win the title, but yeah, it was a good performance. I just want to talk a little bit about Kaizer Chiefs and this Kune injury.
Yes.
How much of an effect, does missing your goalkeeper have on a side? I mean, I understand if your captain's playing in the midfield or he's one of your centre backs, but I mean, to miss your goalkeeper, how much of an influence do they actually have on on the squad and on the game?
Well, Stuart Baxter's been playing Rayard Peterson, who was a Nike talent spot. He went and played in Ireland for a year. He was at the FA Academy for a while. Rayard Peterson is 21, from Cape Town, good little keeper, tall lad actually. When I say little, he's a very tall lad. And he's done quite well in those 2 games again in the African Champions League against Namibia's Black Africa when they qualified in the preliminary round. And the feeling is that Peterson's a good keeper. But as we saw with Bafana last night, Roman Williams is a good keeper as well. He stood in for Intumile Nkune last night, the Bafana captain. And yet there was a lack of leadership at the back. There was a lack of an inspirational figure, a character that would hold it together. And I wonder if that might affect Kaizer Chiefs as well. Tefu Mashamaiti and Tawa Matoho, their centre-backs, they're both pretty solid characters, but Intumile Nkune holds it together. So there is a possibility that it will have significant impact, I think, on Kaizer Chiefs, having Intumile Nkune out with a sprained ankle for a month. Yeah,
most definitely. I mean, losing any captain, I suppose, in any position will affect not only the team, the squad, as well. But I mean, you can't say to me that last night, for example, Bafana, if Kune was playing, that Brazil would have only scored 4. I think they would have got to 5 goals anyway. So, maybe on a season campaign, in terms of looking at the league title, he'll have more of an effect than maybe missing 1 or 2 internationals.
Yeah. I mean, I've been growing my beard since November the 5th, the last time Kaizer Chiefs lost, and I will shave it when Kaizer Chiefs lose. I think that Kaizer Chiefs are due. I mean, they've been winning ugly for a while, as Stuart told us a couple of weeks ago. I think that Kaizer Chiefs may yet find that this title isn't wrapped up. We've been looking at it as if it is for a couple of weeks, because Pirates, Sundowns and Wits weren't quite keeping up the challenge behind them. Certainly Amazulu, Supersport United, not quite what they were, a third of the way into the season. And of course, Bloemfontein Celtic, looking at that Q3 thing where the PSL gives 1.5 million every quarter to the side that does best in that quarter. I see Bloemfontein Celtic are 1 point behind Kaizer Chiefs after 4 games in that Q3 and doing well. I still think the PSL is pretty open, although it looks like it's been Kaizer Chiefs to win and to defend from last year for a while. Yeah,
I agree with you, and that's why I believe that Wits Sundowns game was so important. I mean, Sundowns needed to win that, especially after beating Pirates. You'd think that they would just put everything into that game, and I'm not sure why. I understand. I think you mentioned they had a few injuries before that one.
Yeah.
And they need to pick it up this weekend. I don't have the fixture in front of me, as I said. I can't check, but I kind of fancy Sundowns just a little bit, and I'm not sure why. I don't know if it's listening to Pizza and Bulls earlier last week or what it is, but I just fancy them to catch Kaizer Chiefs maybe. Yeah, well, listen,
Sundowns go to Amazulu, my favourite team, over the weekend, a 3:30 kickoff on the 9th. So Amazulu, a bit up and down. There's been a couple of times this season where they're actually, logistically top of the league, and Sundowns should have the weaponry. Big squad, a lot of money spent on that squad as well. So I can see Sundowns beating Amazulu. I'm looking at the odds on that. Just taking a while. Then Polokwane City against Wits, you've got to expect Wits to win that. Amazulu 37-20, Ellen Bookmaker. Sundowns 27-20 in that particular clash. And then you go to Polokwane Wits. I mean, the odds have got to be stacked in Wits' favour, haven't they? Polokwane City, the promoted side, trying their best to stay clear of the relegation zone, where Golden Arrows and Free State Stars are the runaway favourites to go down. Polokwane 7-4 and 18-10. Wits 14-10 with Ellen Bookmaker and World Sports Betting. But Wits are firing. Vilakazi, their hat-trick a couple of games ago, and they look like they've got what it takes.
Most definitely. That sounds like value to me. 14-10 with World Sports Betting and Ellen Bookmaker on Wits to beat Polokwane City. I mean, gee whiz, you've got to get on that surely.
Yeah, no, I can see that. I can see that happening. I'm just looking at Swallows, Bloemfontein, Celtic, because Swallows have had a bit of a dip under Zeki Marks, and Bloemfontein Celtic, like I say, since the start of the year have been kind of resurgent. I'm just trying to get the odds up on that and just see if Bloemfontein Celtic are worth taking. Bloemfontein Celtic, one of the most popular sides in South Africa. Great crowd backing. Not fashionable but popular in a strange way, that Botshabelo area, a footballing hub in South Africa. And I just wonder if Celtic can take a point at Swallows.
Yeah, I was just going to say that they're very well supported and well followed. Is the game in Bloemfontein?
The game is at Dobsonville. Bloemfontein Celtic travel to Dobsonville, and they're 2-1 World Sports betting to get a win at Swallows. Swallows are 5-4 for the home win. Well, that's with World Sports betting.
I don't know, maybe a draw in that fixture, like you say, Celtic to maybe get a point there. But like I said, both bookmakers on top odds this weekend seem to be giving, generous odds. If you look at that Wits, 14-10. Jeez, against Polokwane City. Are they not in the relegation zone, Polokwane?
Oh, yeah, they're just above it. So, it's going to be a tough one.
Yeah, geez. And Wits coming off that win against, a comprehensive win against Sundowns. You have to, this weekend I would follow Wits to continue their run, and I'd follow Sundowns to bounce back. After that loss, I don't think they'll lose 2 in a row, especially the manner in which they lost. 3-1. It's kind of a whooping in the PSL, considering the league don't get many goals.
Yeah, 3-1 a whooping. Yeah. No, I take your point. It's not a goal. It's not a goal-happy league, the PSL. My favourite one, Pretoria University, Amatux, under Steve Barker, cousin of Clive, the legend. Had a very, very difficult time in the league. They've picked up a couple of results, pushed themselves close to safety, and they entertain at LC de Villiers this weekend. Or will they play? I wonder if they'll play that at Loftus, because it's a big game. Pretoria University against Orlando Pirates, the 6 o'clock kickoff on Saturday. Orlando Pirates, Tinkler in charge, won their last 2 games. Magnificent win against Sundowns at Loftus. I was there. It was a wonderful night. And then, Pirates picking up a couple of wins with Eric Tinkler, the caretaker, while they wait for Vladimir Vomesovic, the former Kaizer Chiefs manager, to get his work permit and take over at Orlando Pirates. It's a must-win for Orlando Pirates to kind of push themselves into that top 3-4 and make sure people understand that despite their African Champions League challenge, which ended in the final last year, that the Pirates can be up amongst the top 3. They go to Amatux. They're 23-20 with LM Bookmaker to beat Amatux. 12-10 with World Sports betting.
Geez, it's got to be unsettling what's happened at Pirates lately. To be under Tinkler, he's a bit of a legend in South African football. And then now to be waiting to meet your new manager over work permit issues. You would think that Pirates, before firing Roger de Saal, would have had all these things in place and know who they wanted to replace him with. But especially, in a season where you need to win your 5 games in hand to challenge for the title. And maybe it was a little bit naive on their part to get rid of de Saal. I don't think he did that badly. I remember us discussing, how close he was to the chopping block. And a couple of days later, he was gone. So, yeah, it's unsettling times for Pirates. I think they're still a good side. It's just a matter of whether or not, what an effect this new manager will have. I haven't heard of him before. I know that you said he was a Kaizer Chiefs manager. I'm not sure how well he did under Kaizer Chiefs. Did he do?
Yeah, he won the Telkom knockout twice in 1 year, funny enough, when they moved the Telkom knockout final. But then he was in charge at Kaizer Chiefs when Orlando Pirates won their 2 trebles. So he also reduced Abi and Nali and a couple of others, didn't he? Comfort to tears. He's a very hard manager, Serbian. Was in charge at Partizan Belgrade after he left Chiefs, was fired there April last year, so he's been on the market for a year. And then suddenly, out of the blue, Dr. Irving Koza grabbing hold of VV, as we call him, and putting him in charge, but obviously not taking into account the difficulties with the work permit. As it was February the 14th, Valentine's Day, when VV was announced, and we still don't have any clear information of when he will take over. It sounded yesterday from Tinkler's quotes like Tinkler was still in charge. I spoke to Eric on Friday. We talked about Lothanolo Majoro being fit but not quite ready to start, and we talked about Vivi not involved at all with the team until he gets that work permit, which I think he got yesterday, but Pirates won't confirm that.
Oh, geez, look at all the commotion surrounding your side, and that's why I'm not a fan of chopping a manager in the middle of the season, especially, having 5 games in hand. He's not in the relegation zone. What do they expect? A run to the Champions League final? It's not good enough. So, It's going to be very difficult.
It's a tough one. What did the betting look like? What did your market look like yesterday towards the end of that game at Newlands, the cricket, where South Africa looked like they'd achieved a tremendous draw, in the face of victory. Did you get much betting going on late in the afternoon? Was there a lot of money flying around?
Most definitely. I'll tell you what, on day 4, South Africa were 4 down. And for some reason, the draw in the game, and that's both bookmakers, Owen Bookmaker and World Sports Betting, never really ventured above 18-10. So there was always this nostalgia and this feeling in the South African bookie market that South Africa could do this and they could hold on for the draw. And as you know, they batted right till the last 4 overs. And even with 5 overs to go, it was still 9-10 the pair. Australia to win the test and South Africa to draw the test. And unfortunately, Ryan Harris got those 2 quick wickets. But there was a massive money traded on the last couple of days of that test match. And I think a lot of South Africans may have done their money there back in the draw. If you're a professional punter and you sat down at the end of day 4 and Australia were 4-10, to pick up 6 wickets on day 5, you would have to put your entire stake on them. So it was a very brave performance from South Africa. We know
they nearly did it, didn't they? Jeez, it was.
We know they can do that. A little bit of an altercation with Steyn and Clark on the field, and that was always good to see. And I think at that point, once Steyn started opening his mouth and they were being kept apart, I think South Africans piled on the draw there and said, "Come on, draw with these Australians and give Smith a send off." I think we need to also talk about Graham Smith, retiring. I don't think it was the right thing for him to do in the middle of a test match when your side is against the wall. Although maybe he thought that'll be a motivational factor. He goes, and it's a new era in South African cricket. We've lost Cullis and Smith. Very close together, and they need to be replaced. And I think we saw in this test match if Dale Steyn isn't at his best, we can't take wickets. So Philander and Morkel need to step up. Carl Abbott had a good test, but we're missing that fourth bowler, that wicket taker.
Yeah, no, I agree. Carl Abbott, Marchant de Lange, we can also bring in. We've got this young lad Rabada as well, the under-19 World Cup winner, and Aidan Markram, a batsman that could come in within the next couple of years, you hope. Okay, Brandon, listen, thanks, mate. Rugby, football, cricket, all of it on Top Odds. Compare our backers on Bollocks, and we'll speak to you again soon.
Thanks so much, Neil. Just remember, all the games are live in running on Top Odds' front page. Sit in front of the television and have your bet once they've kicked off.
Absolutely.
Thanks a lot, guys. Have a good weekend.
Cool. Thanks, Brandon.
Balls.co.za. Visual Radio.